And welcome to another edition of 10 Count. We're here inside Hollywood Smoke in the city of Santa Monica. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Michael Baca of UCN Live and the editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine, Doug Fischer. Doug, we were there April 23rd. As expected, Gennady Golovkin blows out Dominic Wade. As Chris Rock would say, he did what he's supposed to.
He did.
We saw the recent news. He is now the full-time WBC world champion, but I'm assuming that no matter what they say, negotiations are over. I think Canelo and Golovkin, they're going to have a collision course next year, hopefully. So if you had a realistic option, you could wave a magic wand, what would it be for Golovkin next?
I think the biggest fight out there for him, and I don't know if they can do it, I do know that after Golovkin stopped Dominic Wade, the president of the WBA, Gilberto Mendoza Jr., came by press row and said, if Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin cannot reach a deal for their WBC mandated fight, I will make the regular WBA middleweight champion Daniel Jacobs the mandatory challenger for Gennady Golovkin, who has super champion status with the WBA, which is not to say he's a super middleweight. He is a middleweight who is super, because he's held their title for a long time, and, you know, whatever, 22 consecutive knockouts and all that good stuff. I think that's a terrific fight in the New York City area, whether it lands in the Barclays Center in Barclays Arena in Brooklyn or Madison Square Garden. Golovkin is a proven draw in New York City. He sold out Madison Square Garden last October against David Lemieux, and Daniel Jacobs is a Brooklyn native, speaks very well. The media likes him. He's coming off an impressive performance, a first-round knockout over former belt holder Kid Chocolate, handed Kid Chocolate his first loss. And that was a decent crowd that assembled at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. So I have to imagine the pairing of these two together does great TV ratings and really ignites the New York City area fight fans. The monkey wrench in all of this is that Jacobs is an Al Heyman advised fighter, and Golovkin is an HBO contract fighter, and there is a rift between Al Heyman and HBO.
Doug, here's the thing about Jacobs that's mystifying. I know he fought a hard 90 seconds in December. We are now filming in, what, late May?
Yeah. No fight scheduled.
Where's he been? Okay. And then I talked to Andre Rozier, his trainer.
Yeah.
He said, we'd love to take on Jacobs after a couple of tune-ups, because we're not doing it after 8, 9 months.
You'd love to take on Triple G.
And that is understandable. Mike, what about these options? B.J. Saunders, Chris Eubank, or Gilberto Ramirez? Any of those interest you?
B.J. Saunders does interest me because that's the last belt Golovkin needs to completely unify the division, and that rarely happens in boxing, and I think it's good for the sport. Like, for example, we just had a triple header on Showtime that had 3 154-pound titleists not fight each other.
Right.
And it was kind of redundant calling themselves champion of a division right after the other.
With no plans on fighting each other,
Right,
by
exactly.
the way.
Not even discussed.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously, the Charlos aren't going to fight each other, but
no,
one of
and
them
that's fine.
but one of them could fight Lara.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the winner of that fight, you know, if it's Lara, can fight, you know, the other Charlo brother, right?
But Jamal Charlo, who is, it's inevitable that he's going to go up to 160. There's nowhere to go other than fighting Golovkin if you want to call yourself a champion in that division. That's why I think
the beauty of Undisputed Champs,
of
true.
unification and having an undisputed champion, and that's why I think it's really, really good for the sport. That's why I want Golovkin to, you know, get that last belt and solidify.
And Tom Loeffler says they're willing to travel.
No, they are.
Passport, they'll use it. They'll go to the UK if it makes sense. If that's where the most money is, if they think they can get the biggest crowd there, they will do that.
But Doug, that's the mystifying and frustrating thing about B.J. Saunders. He talks a good game on Twitter, and now he's ripping Canelo for dropping the belt. But in essence, when you're offered a career-high payday, and Golovkin says, we'll punch the passport to go to the UK, and then you turn it down, isn't that in a certain way like dropping the belt in your own way?
Yeah, and he hasn't fought since that. You know, you get the feeling that he, like Canelo, wanted sort of an easy first title defense before he, you know, walks into the lion's den. And I get that. I'm a human being. I understand that.
Yeah.
I don't like working hard all the time.
I don't like working hard ever.
I definitely don't like getting my ass kicked.
Yeah.
You know, and that's an inevitability when you step into the ring with Triple G. But Triple G has other potential markets that he can break into. Yeah. Texas is one of them. They've dropped a lot of hints that they want to invade that market. They've done very well in Southern California and the New York City area. And I think
I have an idea.
The Gilberto Ramirez, the WBO super middleweight title holder, is a perfect B-side to Gennady Golovkin in Texas.
But Doug, here's the thing. Ramirez will not be available next because he fights July 23rd on Crawford Postell. Okay, so logistically that doesn't work. And I've suggested this to Tom for at least 6 months now. You know, in cards, when you're playing poker, there's a thing called calling the bluff. You know who's been doing a lot of barking?
Uh-oh.
You know who I want. And
The Cuban,
Erislandy Lara.
Anti-boxing.
Right. My point is they've been saying, we want this fight. Our style gives you fits. You just fought. Well, Tom says we're going to fight somebody in September. Why not Lara? I think it's put up or shut up for Lara.
Louis DeCubas Jr., Al Heyman. I assume they have Tom Loeffler's digits.
Right. They've never called him, actually.
I know. So maybe it's time to make that call, guys.
You said this, Mike, that it's good that fighters want to seek out to create an undisputed situation in boxing. Why is there a backlash against Golovkin for doing just that? I find it head-scratching when Bernard Hopkins was basically allowed to have, what, 22, 23 consecutive middleweight championship fights. Marvin Hagler never moved up. Why is that not being afforded to Golovkin?
I think that's because the middleweight division isn't exactly one of the strongest divisions.
Right.
And they want to see Golovkin get challenged because he's been blowing everybody out with rather ease.
And also, what has now become synonymous with pound-for-pound boxers or elite fighters or fighters that weight hop, that go up in weight. And it started... I don't know, like 25 years ago with like Alexis Arguello moving up in weight.
Ray Leonard doing it. Tommy Hearns.
And those were the elite boxers, so it's like, well, that's what you do now. My argument with people who want Golovkin to move up now to 168 pounds, do you really think Badou Jack, James DeGale, and Gilberto Ramirez are going to be any more competitive with Golovkin than Canelo Alvarez, Daniel Jacobs, and Billy Joe Saunders? I don't think so.
And by the way, if you go back in history and put it into context of what were those divisions thought of then, go get some old ring magazines from 1981, 82, 83. That middleweight division was not that well respected. Bernard Hopkins fought guys like Bo James, Robert Allen 3 times. Yeah. The other champions were William Joppy, and if you look Keith Holmes. And people say, well, Golovkin's waiting for guys to move up. Yeah, kind of like the way Roberto Duran moved up, Ray Leonard moved up, Tommy Hearns moved up, Felix Trinidad moved up.
Historically speaking, the marquee fights for middleweight champions came against talented or very popular opponents moving up in weight. As you mentioned, Hagler, the first star to step up and fight Hagler was a former lightweight champ, Roberto Duran. The previous dominant middleweight champion, Carlos Monzon. Some of his more memorable fights came against Jose Napoles and Emil Griffith. And you can go all the way back to Harry Greb fighting Mickey Walker, who was the welterweight champion. It's kind of a tradition in boxing.
Yeah, but those are only facts. We don't have room for those in today's boxing. All right, on behalf of Doug Fischer and Mike Baca, this is Steve Kim saying, till the next 10 count, goodbye, everybody.